With the fantasy playoffs just a week away from most leagues and championships on the line, this may be the most important fantasy football video you watch all season long. Let's talk about my top 30 running backs for week 14 and a few guys that are just missing the cut. Yo, what is going on, Headliner Nation? Hopefully everybody is doing well out there. And if you're nervous about your fantasy lineups this week or not feeling great about your matchups, I want to do something to help with that. And you know what? Let's do a giveaway. Thanks to our friends over at Pristine Auction, I want to give away an autographed Saquon Barkley mini helmet. And that's perfect for this week because I think he could be in for a huge week. And you'll see why in the rankings just in a second. But if you're interested in winning this mini helmet, all that you have to do is have a free account set up over at pristineauction.com, which you can do by following the link down in the description below. But also make sure that you like the video and leave a comment down below letting me know what running backs you have that have carried you this far into the season. But we also have a super special giveaway that we're doing right now as well for anybody that wins an auction over at Pristine Auction by using our code prior to the end of Christmas week. And for that, you could be in the running for an autographed Justin Herbert Funko Pop. The only thing that you have to do is, again, win an auction at Pristine Auction. It doesn't matter how much you spend, and send a screenshot to us at info@thefantasyheadliners.com that shows all of your information, including using our code word and that it was won by the email address associated with your account. Two awesome giveaways to win and super easy to get entered into both of them as well. But for now, we got to talk about my top 30 running backs for this week. What are the rankings going to look like? Who are the guys that are going to carry us to fantasy victory? And who are the guys that are just missing out and why? Let's talk about it now. Of course, Christian McCaffrey, number one in Seattle, doesn't surprise anybody, but maybe Saquon Barkley going up against Green Bay does surprise people. I've got him 7 spots higher than the consensus right now, and Green Bay got manhandled by Isaiah Pacheco on the ground last week, and Saquon Barkley is the heartbeat of this offense right now. But better yet, Tommy DeVito actually has looked like a decent quarterback the last couple of weeks prior to the bye, and that may help to open up the run game a little bit for Saquon Barkley. Lots of ceiling for him. Carolina is one of the worst run defenses in all of football, and Alvin Kamara gets more volume than almost anybody at the running back position. That's a match made in heaven for fantasy upside this week. Isaiah Pacheco currently listed as questionable, but everything I've seen says that he'll be fine for a matchup with Buffalo. Kansas City this time of the year, with the way their offense is played, is looking to stay balanced in the offensive game plan, and Buffalo's ground game just not the way that it has been in the past on defense. Isaiah Pacheco could have some success this week. Cincinnati's defense right now also struggling against the run, and they're going to be getting Zach Moss, who is coming off a little bit of a down performance last week. A lot of people had high expectations filling in for Jonathan Taylor once again, and it just wasn't what we had hoped for. But right now, Cincinnati is ranked 27th against the run. If we could get Zach Moss near those 15 total touches that he has seen this season, he definitely could be having himself a really nice day. And also in that matchup, right behind him is going to be Joe Mixon, who for the first time this year, I have inside my top 10, but he has been playing very well. Now going up against an Indianapolis Colts defense that is ranked 26 against the run and allowing the 4th most fantasy points to the running back position. We saw some Chase Brown for Cincinnati last week. That's great, but Joe Mixon was still the guy. And this week against Indianapolis, I could see just as much upside. Mixon has been a top 12 running back 4 of the last 6 weeks, and 3 of those games has been inside the top 7. Definitely has the upside, and with the work that he's getting in the passing game right now, it gives him the ceiling that we've been hoping for all season to go with the great floor that he's also had all season. At number 7, Devon Achane. He looked healthy last week, and I expect to see him get a majority of the workload. Right now, Raheem Mostert is banged up, and the savvy veteran hasn't been able to stay healthy for an entire season in quite some time. It makes sense that Miami will try to give him some rest over the next few weeks to make sure him and Achane are both healthy for a long playoff run for Miami. Watching Devon Achane last week, it definitely felt like they're going to make him the guy the rest of the season, and while you'll see where Raheem Mostert shows up here in a few moments, Devon Achane officially has the ceiling, while Raheem Mostert still has a floor. The next few guys are all going to have tough matchups. Rachaad White against Atlanta, Kyren Williams against Baltimore, Josh Jacobs against Minnesota, Tony Pollard against Philadelphia, and David Montgomery against Chicago. When you look at all of these guys, volume is in their favor. They're the starting running backs, they're getting work on the ground, substantial work on the ground, or they're offsetting it with a good amount of work in the passing game as well. But we have to go with the volume here. Their upside isn't as good as I would like this week to put them inside the top 7, but they should still have a really decent floor, especially if games can stay neutral. If anything gets out of hand, we definitely could see these guys maybe lower their ceiling a lot more than we would like. But Rachaad White, Kyren Williams, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, all 4 of those guys definitely have the ability to help in the pass game, and we've seen them have decent amount of targets all season long. David Montgomery's not going to get the targets that we would like to, but Detroit's offense, if they get him inside the red zone, we know David Montgomery is the guy. And going up against his former team, Chicago, who he got some revenge on a couple of weeks ago, I'm sure he would love to follow that up with another big game. Javonte Williams going up against the Chargers, I think could finally give us the ceiling that we've been looking for all season with him. Now, you do watch him and you can tell that probably that knee injury from last year has not allowed him to regain all of the explosiveness that he has had. But he has gotten better, it feels like, every single week. And the further we rein into the season, as long as he continues to get the volume, I definitely could see bigger games ahead for him. Austin Ekeler has a good matchup going up against Denver this week. But the problem is that this Los Angeles Chargers offense has just looked shoddy and lost as of recent. And because of that, it's really hard to trust Austin Ekeler to have a big game. In fact, his floor recently has been absolutely terrible. That's too bad to see because Austin Ekeler clearly has everything we need from him to go out there and win us fantasy championships. But unfortunately, he just hasn't seen it recently. Bijan Robinson, really, he's at the mercy of awful play calling by his head coach. He could have been a little bit better this past week. Not all of that is on him, but he's not excused from all of it either. But Tampa Bay can be very tough. Now, they've given up some big plays here of recent. Their front line is cracking just a little bit, but they should still be able to limit Bijan Robinson outside of the top 12, just in conjunction with the fact that his head coach really has no idea what he's doing on the offensive side of the ball. Jahmyr Gibbs at number 16. I definitely feel like going up against Chicago that we could see him in the passing game if Chicago keeps this close. But I mentioned it in the start and sit video that over the last couple of weeks, Jahmyr Gibbs has had some of his touches rein back a little bit. And I really feel like that's Detroit just trying to make sure that his workload isn't out of control as they inch closer and closer to their first playoff berth in a few years. Keep an eye on him to be utilized in the passing game, even if he doesn't get as much run on the ground as we would like, and that's why he's lower than David Montgomery in the rankings. And with Travis Etienne at number 17, not only is Cleveland super tough, but Travis Etienne is 100% banged up right now. Also, we don't really know what's going on with Trevor Lawrence. Would he be able to make it out there this week? Absolutely no clue. But given the fact that Etienne is banged up, that they're missing Christian Kirk now, that Trevor Lawrence is also hurt, I feel like this could be one of those games where Jacksonville just can't figure anything out, and it goes in Cleveland's favor by quite a wide margin. Travis Etienne has a decent floor because of his touchdown upside, but I can't go any higher because he is limited with the injuries right now. And James Cook at number 18 going up against Kansas City. One thing that we have seen from James Cook all season long is a decent floor. The dude is putting up pretty good numbers, even if they are not as high as you would like. But this is something that the Bills have talked about. When we get into these winter months and they go up against these offenses like Kansas City, they want to get better running the football to keep the ball away from the other team. It's been talked about specifically over the last couple of years after early playoff exits. Look for them to utilize James Cook this week as much as possible, as long as they can keep the game script neutral against Kansas City and keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. At Kansas City, wearing down that home crowd by running the football is their best chance at winning. All right, heading to number 19, going with Derrick Henry here. I would love to go higher with him, especially given the fact that he's coming off such a great couple of games here recently. He looks like to be the Derrick Henry of old that we've been waiting for, but hasn't quite been able to show up. But this matchup is not super easy. When you take a look at it, the Miami Dolphins, I think, are sneaky good on defense, and a lot of people don't realize it. Currently ranked 8th against the run and allowing the 6th fewest fantasy points. But also, if Miami puts Tennessee behind early, I think you're going to see less Derrick Henry and more Tyjae Spears, because that's just the way Tennessee has operated this year. I moved Jaylen Warren up to number 20 because it's looking like Najee Harris could end up missing this week. He was added to the injury report early on Wednesday, and he did not practice on Wednesday, and this is a Thursday night game. Keep an eye on that throughout the day if you own Najee Harris. We'll talk about him in a second, but if there's no Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren is at least right here for me, because it is a tougher matchup against New England, but quite honestly could go as high as RB 15 or 16. Raheem Mostert at 21 is still going to get worked into the game plan. He's not disappearing, and he's not leaving our fantasy lineup. His ability to score and find the end zone has just been way too good this season. We know Miami can get it near the goal line as well as any team in the league. Achane, I think, will get the most volume, which gives him the most upside, but Raheem Mostert, I think, is good for a touchdown once again. Zeke Elliott on Thursday night going up against Pittsburgh. Now, this isn't the Zeke Elliott of old, and New England's offense is, well, let's just say, not good, and that's putting it lightly. And on the road at Pittsburgh, Zeke is going to get the volume to put him inside the top 24, but if he doesn't score and he's not able to break some of those big plays that we would need from him, higher than this seems highly unlikely. Alexander Mattison has a good matchup going up against Las Vegas, and I would like to go higher with Alexander Mattison, but I also don't know the type of role we're going to see from Ty Chandler this week, and that makes a lot of difference on how high Alexander Mattison could end up reaching. Keaton Mitchell, I actually have him ranked quite a bit higher than the consensus ranking this week because Gus Edwards and Justice Hill are still seeing plenty of touches. Keaton Mitchell's going to see touches in between the 20s, and he's going to see some work in the passing game. Volume-wise, he might see a little bit more than the other guys, but he loses his upside because Gus Edwards gets the high leverage carries at the goal line and inside the red zone, and Justice Hill still sees some touches throughout the game. Keep an eye on Keaton Mitchell to continue to go higher in the rankings if he continues to get the bulk amount of the snaps each week moving forward. 25, 26, and 27 are three guys that have big play potential and have showed us that this season, but don't have good matchups this week, and as of late have not been playing well either. DeAndre Swift going up against Dallas. He has looked really bad over the last couple of weeks. Bad enough that it feels like that Kenneth Gainwell is going to start to see a little bit more. And somebody brought up in the comment section asking about DeAndre Swift and whether or not Kenneth Gainwell is seeing a little bit more snaps right now because Philadelphia hasn't really been playing ahead like we had seen to begin the season. That is part of it, but DeAndre Swift's efficiency has continued to go down and down with each single week over the last several weeks. So he's just not exploding the way that we would have liked him to, and because of that, he is getting less touches now. Breece Hall going up against Houston. Houston's defense continues to be underrated by a lot of people, I feel like, and the New York Jets have got Zach Wilson back at the quarterback position. Could Breece Hall break a couple of huge plays? Absolutely. Breece Hall could go as high as RB 13 for me this week, but just based on the way games have gone lately and the way he has played, I'm just not willing to risk that and putting him in front of some other guys who I think either have more volume, more touchdown potential, or more ceiling opportunity. Jerome Ford at number 27 definitely helped out getting that touchdown in the passing game last week, but on the ground against Jacksonville is no bueno. Jacksonville can shut down the run at any point in time. It's really the best part of their defense right now, and Jerome Ford is going to have to make his gameplay through the air this week to reach up into the 27 area. Gus Edwards, kind of talked about him already. We're looking for that touchdown from him, even if he doesn't get the volume that we would like. Najee Harris added to the injury report on Wednesday, did not practice, and is now in question for Thursday night. I'm going to leave him inside the top 30 because if he does end up playing, there is some potential opportunity for him to help in the passing game, but I don't know how limited he would be. And there's other players I would like to toss in ahead of him that Jess I feel safer with this week. And A.J. Dillon at number 30 against the New York Giants, opportunity is absolutely there. But as of right now, A.J. Dillon over the last few weeks has been the epitome of a bottom end RB2. He's going to give you numbers anywhere between 24 and 26. But for me, with some of these guys ahead of him, I just think they have the ability to find some bigger plays. And also, I'm not going to have Aaron Jones listed right now. Since the Green Bay Packers don't play until Monday night, they're a little hush-hush on the status of Aaron Jones and whether or not he will be able to go. He didn't seem super close to going last week, and I feel like in a matchup against the New York Giants that really should be pretty easy for Green Bay to win, they don't want to risk it with Aaron Jones, and they want to get him healthy for a playoff run. So for me personally, I think he's out another week, and if he is, A.J. Dillon ends up staying right here. But if Aaron Jones plays, A.J. Dillon falls outside of the top 30, and you know what? I probably leave Aaron Jones out as well for at least this week. All right, how about a few guys on the outside looking in? And there are several guys this week that all have question marks / timeshares / why would we play them kind of examples to go along with it. Chuba Hubbard, good week last week, tough matchup against New Orleans. Miles Sanders is still seeing some touches. Zach Charbonnet, as of right now, no indication on whether or not he's going to be able to go. On Wednesday, they had a walkthrough. He was able to do some things in that, based on what Pete Carroll said, and I really don't know what that's supposed to mean. So for me, it still feels like he's trending towards not being able to go against San Francisco, and even if he does, it's a tough matchup. Devin Singletary lost a ton of touches last week to Dameon Pierce. I have absolutely no idea moving forward who is going to be the guy, but going up against the New York Jets, Devin Singletary through the air feels like he might get a few more targets with no Tank Dell. Khalil Herbert, you can kind of throw him and Roschon Johnson and Dante Foreman in together here when we talk about their matchup with Detroit. Khalil Herbert is the RB1, but it's a tough matchup on the ground. Tyjae Spears, maybe he gets a few targets in the passing game, especially if Miami puts Tennessee down early, but Tennessee's trailed a lot this season, and Spears still isn't putting together fantasy viable performances. And Ty Chandler here to end the names, really going up against Las Vegas, this will be a good opportunity if Minnesota decides to give him the touches. But as of right now, they're still going to Alexander Mattison, and until we see a huge swing in that, it's hard for me to say that Ty Chandler could go any higher than just a what-if ad over the course of a week. Yo, there you have it, headliners. Hopefully my top 30 running back rankings are going to be able to help you set your lineups for week 14. And best of luck to everybody out there. Hopefully you all bring home fantasy championships, lock up your spot in the playoffs, and go get ready to win. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get out of here for right now, though. I'll catch you all later. Peace out, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you all in the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.